Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And today, for the first time ever, there's that word again, a Prime Minister will address the Houses of Parliament as a criminal. The first ever criminal Prime Minister to address the Houses of Parliament in all the history of this country, right? The greats who have walked, right, in the shoes that Boris Johnson is now walking in: Gladstone, Churchill, Pitt the elder, Pitt the younger, all these greats that have walked in those shoes, and Boris Johnson has disgraced those shoes. Right? Those shoes, right, are walking in poo, a big pile of shit. The House of Commons, right, is a place that's supposed to be for commoners. That is people like you and I, commoners, right? Not these posh people. What you got to understand, yeah, is these posh people, right? They treat us, the working classes, yeah, like black people. Oops, hold on. I just need to work this out quickly because hold on, I'm black. Sorry, they treat you like black people. So, welcome to a world of chicken, reggae music, and Kangol hats. And also, welcome back to By Enemies Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me, and a special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go through all the messages, I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages for definite. So we have we have a really sad story, with Cristiano Ronaldo has announced the death of his of one of his twins during childbirth yesterday. I think obviously Cristiano, he's very very well loved. Yeah, just like I think even the opposition fans, right, just really like him. He seems to be like one of the world's nicest people as well. He is actually one of my favorite people, and I'll tell you why. Because there was a young boy, yeah, who was suffering from cancer, right? And he wrote to Cristiano, and he wrote to him and said to him, "Can you please send me a pair of your boots, right, so that I can auction them because he's got cancer." So, Cristiano sent him the boots, and he also sent him the money for the cancer treatment. Right, so that just puts him straight as one of my favorite people in the world, along with Bill Gates. Right, so Amir Khan was robbed in Leighton yesterday of his very expensive watch. I'm always with these kinds of people. Yeah, you always have to say to them, "Listen, you know something, yeah." You don't need to be going and rubbing that shit in people's face, right? Because Leighton is quite a deprived part of London, right? And I don't know what sort of money his watch was. Do you know what I mean? But we could be talking about a watch that's 100 grand, because he's a very he's a very very rich man. He's made a lot of money, so I can't really see him walking around with like a 10 grand timepiece, because so it's just I just find it just like, I don't understand why you'd be down somewhere like Leighton, right, flashing your wealth in people's faces when you know that the struggles that people are going through. This is not, it's Leighton, and I mean, if you're going to be up that way, them type of ways, you really need to carry some security with you, especially if if you're carrying tens of thousands of pounds worth of jewellery on you, and you're a well-known face. Because believe me, yeah, there's people in Leighton, right, who are faces in Leighton, who could walk around there with whatever they want on, and no one ain't gonna come and try and rob them with a knife or a gun. But Amir Khan, who's not from that area, he unfortunately for him, he's open target. He's an open target. He's open territory. As soon as they spot him, they'll be like, "Well, that's Amir Khan," and that Rolex is more than likely going to be real. right? So that's the thing. So so very 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 shame. And he said I really feel sorry for him, but these people, they shouldn't be doing these type of things, especially what with the hardship that people are going through, especially so. And the head of the World Health Organization has branded Britain a bunch of racists for the way how they have been treating the Ukraine, as opposed to wars in places like Yemen, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Palestine. Why the hell, do people keep branding this country a bunch of racists? I don't get this, right? This is not me, right? This is outside. This is outside influences. In fact, the head of the World Health Organization believes that Britain, right, is being racially biased, right, in its way how it deals with people from the Ukraine as opposed to brown and black countries. Who the hell knew? But then you have to look at this whole situation and think, well, we have so many job vacancies in this country, and these politicians can't come up with anything sensible other than we're going to send people, right, to a country, right, where I'm quite sure sometimes we get refugees from. There's quite a few people, right, that have been fleeing from Rwanda, and if you read the government advice on Rwanda, right, really was the government advice on Rwanda said, basically told you, don't go anywhere near there. Their human rights is really bad. Right? That was their advice. But all of a sudden, they want to take people and send them to Rwanda. Right? Well, hold on. If only in when was it? It was, what was it now? So it must have been January. It was either January this year or January last year. They had a report, right, speaking about the human rights in Rwanda, and it was, well, the report. I read it, but I can't remember what it. But the report branded Rwanda as a country that have got very poor human rights. Journalists going missing, and all these type of things. So I don't know. I think that Priti Patel has jumped the gun a bit, but I don't really. Something tells me, right, that Priti Patel, because Priti Patel really wants to do it. She actually really wants to do it. Right. I think Boris Johnson is probably just going along with it, and there's a lot of people in the Tories who are just going along with it because they know to themselves, well, it plays very well for us in throughout the next election. If we go, if Boris Johnson's still there throughout the next election, it plays very well because he could just say, well, me and Priti Patel, we tried to do something about it, and you saw what happened. All the wokies, right, and all the woke lawyers, right, wouldn't let us get anything passed. It wasn't our fault. We did try. We fully tried to send people of colour, right, offshore, right, in an illegal move of refugee trading. Right? It's completely illegal anyway. But for them, they've already had their victory because there's a lot of people who are saying, yeah, actually, I see this is quite a good idea. Right, so they've already got that victory, especially, God, you know what? I never knew so much people who voted for Labour was racist, because they're saying that was especially to please the people of the Red Wall. And I never knew so much of you Red Wall Labour voters. Well, obviously when you voted for Brexit and you voted for the Conservatives, right, that's when I really knew that when it actually comes down to it, your skin colour, right, is the most important thing in your life. Everything comes secondary, which is, for me, is a ridiculously stupid way of living. Because what happens when that happens, when you do stuff like that, all you do is just fuck the country up. And what have you done? Let me hear you say it. Exactly. You fucked the country up with your stinking, dirty racism. And you people in the red wall who should feel ashamed of yourself. Because I always thought you was decent folks. I always thought the red wall people was decent folks. You know what I mean? Because they're Labour. There was always, red wall Labour. A lot of these people up in the red wall Labour, their parents, right, would be turning both ways. They'd be like a spinning top, right? Like, they'd be like going around really fast, spinning in their grave, because you people have shamed them. That's what you've done. You've shamed them, voting for the Tories, right? Who they would have never voted for ever, but you did. And you are a racist bunch of idiots who are a disgrace to your parents and your grandparents and all of your relatives before, who were staunch Labour. You're a disgrace to them. The Archbishop of Canterbury has said sending refugees to Rwanda is ungodly and it's against God's wishes. I always thought that maybe God would have been like, well, we need to help people that are in trouble. And especially coming from a country who says we are a Christian nation of people. And then all the Tories who are so religious, and they've all come out, right, and said, right, that the most Reverend Justin Welby should shut up and go away. Oh, actually, they said he should shut up and go away because they asked Gavin Williams for some advice on this one, because that's what they must have done. But that's what they've all come out. Hold on, it was the Archbishop of Canterbury and the another one of the archbishops as well came out and said and said basically the same thing, that God, right, wouldn't want this. Right? Jesus would be walking these people to safety, to sanctuary, and Britain would just be there, just at the borders, and Jesus would be like, I've got a couple of million people that need help. These people need help. My name is Jesus Christ, and these people need your help. What are you going to do? And it was like, sorry, we are full up. Sorry, Jesus, we can't take you because God, your dad, wouldn't like that. For all these Tory MPs, right, because they're really in a real bind. It's a real situation that they're in, right? Because they've got no choice other than to try and support the racist policy, right? But the Archbishop has come out and said this, so now it's either support Boris Johnson, right, and attack the Archbishop. And what have they chose to do? They've chose to attack the Archbishop. I mean, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Mr. Charitable himself, a man who thinks that food banks are uplifting, and after Brexit we will have very, very cheap shoes and food. How's that going for us, Jacob? Even him, a man who goes to church every week. I mean, the thing is, yeah, he disagreed with the Archbishop, yeah, but he done it in such a posh voice that you've got to be like, you know what, Jesus Christ. You know what, right? He could say to me, he could come to me and say to me, I've just murdered your wife and all your children. But in that posh voice, I'd just be like, yeah, man, you know what? Don't worry about that. Because he's saying it in the posh accent. These people are psychos. They're psychopaths, right? And it just goes to show you, right, the levels that they would go to, right, to protect a cheating liar right? A man who they've done a word collage about today, right? And prominent in the middle of the word collage is the word liar, right? I think they asked 2,000 or 3,000 people about Boris Johnson, and obviously the words, the words incompetent, clown, buffoon, idiot, and all those type of words was obviously in there, but the most prominent word was liar. And that's what they're asking. And in another first for Boris Johnson, a first ever. No, sorry, another worst ever. But it might be the first ever too. The London Ambulance Service are taking on volunteers to drive ambulances. Because the service, is in the worst ever, there's that word again, position that it has ever been in since records began. And records, I believe, began at the start of the NHS. So this is the worst ever shape the NHS have ever been in. And who knew that putting a clown in charge of a country would lead to such devastation for the NHS? Who knew putting a comedian in charge of a country and you would have a fantastic leader turn out? Why couldn't we just swap our leader with I wonder if the Ukrainians, so they seem like Boris Johnson and we like Vladimir Zelensky, so I wonder if they perhaps swap jobs. Can prime ministers do that? Just like have a job swap. Just for maybe, I don't know, maybe 3 years. I don't know why that's popped into my head, but maybe 3 years. Just them to just job swap. But then again, Boris Johnson, I believe, would get his ass out of Ukraine if he was the leader. He'd probably do his job swap and be back here sheltering from the Russians. But yeah, so they're asking the ambulance for people to volunteer to drive ambulances. What kind of a state is this country really in, where you've got to have all and sundry, Fred motherfucking West could turn up, to drive people to hospital. They say, oh no, don't worry, we're going to vet them. The vetting system is only as good as the people that it's caught. If you haven't been caught, then you'll get through the vetting process. Oh dear. There has been a huge rise in non-EU citizens coming to Britain, which I said in the first place, if you people want to swap white Europeans for Africans and Asians and other brown and black people, I'm good with that. I would have preferred my European brothers and sisters to still have their free access to come to this country. But if that's the way how you Brexiters want it to work out, that you have more brown and black people coming to the country, listen, I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. As I said, I prefer my European brothers and sisters to be able to come over, because I enjoyed, living and speaking to Romanians and Germans and Spanish and Italians. We up the West End, we have one of the biggest music scenes in the world, and you used to have people would just come over from France, from Amsterdam, from all these from all these close European countries. They'll just come over to our raves. I've met plenty of people in raves, from all over the world, from all over the EU, who just used to come over literally come over for the night. Some of them, it was a shorter distance to get to, from France, obviously from France, say coming from Manchester. It was quicker for them to come over from France. And they used to do that all the time, and it was an absolutely beautiful thing for that. And we haven't got that anymore. What we've got congestion charge and ULEZ. That's what we've got. Right. So even when when the artists, when we're going down in the night, we have to pay the ULEZ. And if we're doing a set before like midnight, like say we're doing a set at 11, then driving in we've got to pay the ULEZ, and then driving back out again you've got to pay the ULEZ. So what they've done is they've just they've tried. I don't know if they've done it on purpose, but it's like they've just tried to completely destroy London, as a worldwide entertainment centre, because that's what it was before, and it's all going now. And Brexit, what's this one? Oh, Brexit has brought problems for the Falkland Island fishing industry. That's Brexit as well. See, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And 40,000 jobs are at risk for foreign students who are shunning UK language schools. 40,000 jobs, because people are like, I want to go to racist island. I want to go to that racist island to go and study or anything else. So it's another 40,000 jobs at risk with people not wanting to come here to study. And that one is just like that one's just like UK language schools, right? So that's just UK language schools, right? So you can imagine all the other schools. That's just one part of the industry. And why is Britain turning purple? Do you know why Britain's turning purple? The government's catalogue of embarrassment found a perfect symbol last week in a 500-ton mountain of rotten beetroot. 500-ton mountain. You'd think that someone would have the common sense to say, you know what, why don't we go to France? All those people that are coming over on dinghies, why don't we go over there and say, listen, we've got some jobs. What we're going to do is we'll take you over. Right? These jobs, you live on the farm. While you're working there, we'll process your paperwork. If you're okay, we'll allow you to stay. Because remember, these people, they're trying to get over here to claim refugee status. Right? So if you take them in, put them into these jobs to do this work, right? Then you could do, because they live on site. Most of these farms, most of these people, they live on site, so they'll be paying for themselves because they'll be working, paying for themselves, right? And you can process their paperwork, and you can process their paperwork in the meantime, right? And then you can keep the brown and black faces out of the faces of all these racist motherfucking Brexiters, right, who voted, right, to shoot themselves in the forehead. From both sides, just missing the brain. Scraped it though. Scraped it. Didn't scrape the racism out of it though. Anyway, once again, I have gone over the time that I specified for myself by a good 8 minutes. So I have to find myself bowing out of here. This is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.